the planet is literally on fire. Just like your house is on fire, you don't sit around saying, well, how do I make coffee now? When's my breakfast? No, you get up and we put out the fire first.
Yeah, sure.
Same thing with the planet. Okay, so the planet is on fire. Literally, the life support systems are at breaking point.
Yeah.
And several of them, there are 7 planetary boundary transgressions, which means, and every transgression, if you leave it there, is sufficient to kill life as we know it. Urgently, we need to bring back the 3 trillion trees that we cut so that they can suck up this chemical pollution and see if photosynthesis will still work, right? So at some point, the system is set up in a way that at some point, the trees are going to say, I'm not doing anymore. I'm done. And I don't know when that is. Every 39 pounds of food you give to the animal, you get 1 pound of food out of the animal.
Yeah. Hi there, and welcome to Plant CEO. In today's episode, I'd like to welcome Dr. Sailesh Rao, the Executive Director of Climate Healers. Dr. Rao started his career as a systems engineer, where he was looking at creating the digital foundations of the modern internet. Today, he uses his insights to look at our climate crisis. When we're looking at animal agriculture, he views this as not just a part of the problem, but as a leading cause and a driving force of our climate disaster. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Just before we get into it, I just learned that you can do a 10-minute plank.
Yes.
So tell me about that. How can you do a 10-minute plank?
Well, you start off by doing 30-second planks,
Yeah.
which is what I was doing like 2-3 years ago.
Right.
And then you keep adding 5 seconds every week.
Wow, amazing. So how long did it take you to get to 10 minutes?
I never really went to 10 minutes. I plateaued at 6 minutes.
Oh, okay.
But then I kept doing 6 minutes every day. And then when the occasion arose, I found I could do 10 minutes.
And you just recently did a competition with a fellow activist, Jamie Logan, who I know.
With lots of activists.
Lots of activists,
Lots
okay.
of activists. We're all on stage.
Right.
And, slowly everyone dropped off. And ultimately it was just Jamie and I doing the plank.
Yeah.
And I could see she could go on forever. And I was wondering, when will I give up? And then the organizer basically said, you both win. I'm tired of waiting for you.
Amazing. It's really great for longevity, especially if you've got high blood pressure. If you do the plank, it's meant to lower your blood pressure because you're tensing your veins in your body. And that helps regulate your heart as well. So it's really great that you can do that length of time.
Yeah, I've found that doing that has helped me a lot, not only with my physical fitness, but also my mental and emotional stability. It's basically telling my mind, shut up. Whatever pain you experience is going to be there.
Yeah,
so you have to go through it. Yeah.
So take me back, you were an engineer, heavy into tech.
Right.
What happened in your life that made you turn into a climate activist?
I'm still an engineer.
Right, okay.
And engineering is a profession that's about solving problems.
Right, okay.
Right? And so I came home one day. I was working on making the internet 10 times faster.
Yeah.
10 gigabit Ethernet.
This is chip design?
I was basically working on systems.
Right, okay.
What is the protocol that the chip has to implement?
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what I did for the gigabit Ethernet. And then I was working on 10 gigabit Ethernet.
Right, okay.
Doing the same thing 10 times faster.
Yeah.
And I was getting frustrated by the whole process because the internet had become very popular.
Yeah.
And a lot of money was being thrown at it. And people were saying things that I knew wasn't going to work.
Yeah, right.
And I was getting frustrated. And I came home one day and there was Vice President Al Gore talking about global warming. This was in 2005, way before anyone even knew about this. Even before his movie came out.
Right.
An Inconvenient Truth.
Yeah.
So I was rooted to my seat. I couldn't believe what he was saying. I told my wife, if half of what he's saying is true, what is everybody doing? We should all be working on this full time. And she said, do you really think it's that important? I said, yeah. She said, then why don't you look into it? So I did. And within 3 months, I told her, we have to close down our company and focus on this full time. So that's what we did. I wrote to Mr. Gore and I said, how can I help you? I got trained by him in the second batch that he trained. So he's trained like lots of batches now, over 20,000 people he has trained. But he trains them to give his presentation. And even during his training, I asked him the question about animal agriculture because I was doing back of the envelope calculations. And I know that 1/3 of the land at that time was being used just to graze animals. And you look at land that's used for grazing animals, there's hardly any carbon stored in it, right? Because it's just grass. So if you just replace that with trees, can we not reverse this? That was my question. And the back of the envelope calculations were telling me it's true, right? But he didn't want to answer it. So he turned to Roy Neal, his chief of staff, and said, "How did this guy get in here?"
I heard that, within his family, he had some animal farming within that, and maybe why he also didn't really speak about it in the first film.
It wasn't even touched upon, even though I believe it is the leading cause. And I believe that based on just data. Data from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change already says that when you look at the data. But the data is being partially exposed. You know how if you just show a little bit of that and don't show the rest, it looks like fossil fuels are the leading cause. And that's how they're doing it.
Yeah. And it comes down to what you call this carbon opportunity that's being missed out, right?
Right, yeah. Mainly the carbon opportunity cost of the land that's being used for raising animals. So just to give you an elevator pitch for this. We have cut half the trees on the planet over the last 10,000 years, mainly to raise animals for food. Okay? That's the major reason. There are other reasons why we cut trees, but then we replace them with other trees, like timber and paper and so on.
Right.
So, but with animal agriculture, we cut down trees and replace it with grass. Okay. Now, the remaining, so there used to be 6 trillion trees on the planet. Now there are only 3 trillion trees left. Now, what nature did when we cut down those trees is that it bulked up the remaining trees.
When you say bulk up, you meant
they all became fatter.
Oh, really? Okay.
Literally, because they now are storing roughly twice as much carbon as they used to.
Right.
So when the carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere went up, there is something called CO2 fertilization that happens. And the trees become bigger and they produce more oxygen than they used to and so on. So they basically compensate for the loss of the trees. Which means at this time, if we just bring back the trees that we cut, you can literally reverse climate change, right? Because the CO2 levels are high. Those trees will start sucking down way more carbon than they would have 10,000 years ago. And then the CO2 levels will come down. And eventually when these trees die out, the new trees will start with less carbon.
And there's already some evidence of this in China, where they've had this forest, you're aware of this, where they've started to grow so many trees over in this desert land.
Right, Lowe's Plateau.
And now, and now you can see it in the satellite imagery as well.
Right. So essentially, nature has given us an out. Here's a way to solve the problem. Because the remaining trees and the root systems that they have are storing more carbon than in the entire atmosphere. Okay, so if 3 trillion trees can do that, the other 3 trillion trees that you bring back can also do that. So which means they would reverse climate change for us. And so this is a regulatory mechanism that we have available to us. But all it needs is for everyone to stop eating animals, stop using animals for any purpose whatsoever. So that's when you release that land back to nature. Right.
And you describe it as two things.
Killing machine and burning machine.
Burning machine. Okay, right. So do you want to describe that?
Yeah. Basically, I broke the human activities down into 2 big machines. That we essentially need to, all the destructive activities, into 2 big machines that we need to turn down. Okay. So then you create a model. So I work with models. I'm an engineer, right? So I work with models to show what should be turned off first. When you operate the burning machine, not only emitting greenhouse gases that warm the atmosphere, we also emit cooling gases that cool the atmosphere. And those cooling gases only stay in the atmosphere for a few weeks, whereas the warming gases stay there for a long time. If you don't reverse it. Okay? So that is the model for the burning machine. Okay, the cooling happens rapidly, and the warming stays for a long time. The killing machine has hardly any cooling effects. It's all heating.
Mm.
And it has this huge opportunity cost.
Mm.
Because by operating the killing machine, you're preventing those trees from being regenerated.
Yeah.
Right.
You've basically wiped out the trees. You've put
Correct.
grass for the cattle to graze there.
Correct.
And for them to create the big farms as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you really want to solve this problem, how do you turn off these two machines? It's like you have to press the clutch and then shift the gears, right? So there's an order in which you have to do things.
Yeah.
If you don't want to break the planet.
Yeah.
And
the clutch in this case is definitely the animal.
Absolutely. The
killing
killing
machine.
machine. You have to shut it down as quickly as possible. And then when the trees come back, then you can dial down the burning machine, because then the trees will take up the cooling effects.
Right.
So that you're going to lose when you turn off the burning machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So this is the right way in which you do this. So if you think that the cities are, it's impossible to breathe in Delhi or Mumbai or places like that, then you should be going vegan as quickly as possible, because only then can we clean that up.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that is actually preventing some sunlight from coming down on Earth, and therefore it is a cooling effect that you're seeing.
Yeah. And also methane is very heavy, obviously, in cattle farming.
Yes.
And that gas is also a lot warmer, isn't it? So that is a major contributor as well.
Methane, it has a much bigger impact, mainly because there is much lower concentrations of methane in the atmosphere. It's only 2 parts per million. Whereas carbon dioxide is like 425 parts per million.
Yeah.
So which means every additional methane molecule has a much bigger heating impact than every additional CO2 molecule. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of CO2 molecules. There are not enough methane molecules.
Yeah.
So this is why methane is so powerful. If you increase the methane levels to the same as carbon dioxide, it'll be just like carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
So, but right now it's 80 times more powerful on a 20-year basis. Okay. And so we have a way of measuring all of these called effective radiative forcing that allows us to see the impact of every gas.
Yeah.
And how much of the heating that we are experiencing today is caused by which gas. Okay. And when you look at that, methane turns out to be about 95 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. On an individual basis.
Yeah. When you're going to, say, climate conferences and you're speaking about this publicly, and most people have settled on that number of whatever it is, 14.5%.
Right.
And your number is a lot higher. And you're having to explain what is sort of some of the pushback that you get, even with people in our industry who get this and are sort of pro animal rights and want reduction of animal agriculture. What are they saying to you, especially if it can be not aligned with the market, I guess?
Right.
Because it's a battle, isn't it?
Right. The system has set it up in such a way that you cannot talk about animal agriculture except through official numbers. Right.
Yeah.
The official numbers are 14%.
Yeah.
Okay. But those official numbers were concocted by the industry.
Yeah.
So it's the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, along with its livestock environmental assessment and performance partners.
Right. So they had a say in the results and the methodology is what you're saying.
Methodology.
Right.
Methodology.
Yeah.
So the animal agriculture industry was deep in it, in coming up with these numbers. The International Meat Secretariat, International Dairy Federation, International Poultry Council, International Egg Commission were all founding members of the Livestock Environmental Assessment and Performance Partnership. Now, I've done a lot of engineering work. Okay. I refuse to accept anything that comes from industry.
Right.
When I do my work. Why? Because I want to solve problems.
Yeah.
I'm not here to do political things.
No.
I'm trying to solve this.
Yeah.
I say, okay, if you are going to go with them as your authority, I'm going to have to look at the data directly.
Yeah.
When I look at the data directly, I can see how they came up with that number. They massaged it.
Yeah.
They only looked at 4 of the 12 emissions. Okay. So just look at CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, and halocarbons. Just 4 of the heating gases. And that too, put your thumb on the scale when it comes to methane. Put your thumb on the scale when it comes to CO2. Don't consider deforestation. Measure CO2 as net emissions for land use and gross emissions for fossil fuels. This is the sort of thing they were doing. Okay, if you measure one as net, one as gross, of course you're going to get different numbers.
And this isn't the first time this industry has misled, even when it comes to nutrition facts.
Of course, yeah. This industry has been misleading us from day one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the protein myth.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
It's because how do they create the protein myth? By just associating protein with meat, protein with meat. And children pretty soon think protein is only found in meat. So that's a partial truth, right?
Yeah.
Because yes, there is protein in meat, but there's protein in everything.
Exactly, yeah.
And they don't tell you
it all
that.
comes from plants.
It all comes from plants.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't tell you that. Right?
Yeah.
So you get misled into thinking that protein is only found in meat. It's the same thing here. You just show part of the truth and say, see, fossil fuels are the leading cause. But then when you look at the entire truth, fossil fuels start shrinking in impact. Why? Because they're cooling as much as they're heating. Right?
Yeah.
That's not a good thing. It just means that we haven't yet experienced all of the heating that the fossil fuels have caused. We haven't. Because the cooling has been masking it. So which means if we shut off the fossil fuel engine now, the burning machine, if I wave a magic wand and turn off the burning machine overnight, within 2 to 3 weeks, the heating on the planet will nearly double. Is that what we want to do? Is that our intent? Is this how we solve the problem? So as an engineer, I'm saying, where are the engineers here? Who understand how to do these things? And I'm saying, as an engineer, I can tell you that's absolutely the worst thing to do right now. You have to, the same magic wand, use it to shut off the animal agriculture industry. Then you will start cooling the planet. Literally start cooling the planet. And then you can turn down the burning machine slowly. Okay. So in my estimate, we need about 30 years to turn off the burning machine. But the killing machine can be turned off within next 2 years.
Yeah. So tell me, what are the, Joe blogs on the street? What can they do? What are the sort of things that the average person, especially, I guess, we'll come to it in a minute, but around advertising. But let's look at an individual. What can they do to help? Help this.
There's several things we can do. If you can, please go vegan.
Yeah.
As quickly as possible. Okay. And if you can, just go and influence your community. If you can, please go influence your policymakers to promote plant-based foods, promote plant-based living throughout the world.
Yeah.
Everybody should be doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm appealing to policymakers, saying this is such an emergency today. It's not just the climate crisis. There are lots of crises that are happening. Okay, it's a systems issue. Our entire way of life is in opposition to the life support systems of the planet.
Yeah.
So when you have a system like that, and human engineered system that's causing the planet to die, you have to create a human engineered system that's in alignment with the life support systems of the planet. That's what I call Planet B. Okay, so you have to build everything in alignment and then introduce that as normal. Okay, so and you can do that in simultaneously. It's like having MS-DOS and Linux on your computer.
Right. Yeah.
So install Planet B protocols, and these Planet B protocols that people can adopt more and more and more. And eventually everyone will be adopting just Planet B and not Planet A. That's how I see this happening. And one of the things in Planet B that I'm proposing is that everyone should have access to healthy food for free. Okay. So we as a community need to make sure that everyone has access to their basic needs for free. Why? Because you belong on Earth. You belong in the community. And now you can contribute towards restoring the planet, cleaning up the pollution, cleaning up the mess that we have made, and restoring the life support systems of the planet so that it's back into stability. Right now it's unstable. Now the life support systems have gone to the point where I don't know if we can bring it back or not. It's that bad. So I'm saying, and I won't know until we all try. Because, these are complex systems. It's impossible to model and predict. Yeah, we are already gone beyond the point of no return, or we are still okay, continue.
Yeah.
Why would you continue destroying the planet? This is the only planet we know of, right? So I say, when you realize that our system is destroying the planet, you have to ask systems engineers, how do you solve this? And that's what I'm here. I'm doing. I'm saying, as a system engineer, I know there is a way we can live in which it's in alignment with the planet, with the life support system of the planet. And that's what I'm designing. That's the Planet B design.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when it comes to like the policymakers, you've got some great organization that like the Plant-Based Treaty, who are looking at obviously at a local government council level to do that, and also to push schools to go more plant-based.
Right.
And then I guess the bigger picture is to try and get the governments to look at their dietary guidelines, which some of them have started doing now, and actually putting positive angle on and sort of promoting more plant-based food because of climate change.
Yeah.
But not everyone's up to speed yet. And I still don't feel there's a sense of urgency to do it because the message hasn't got there yet entirely.
Yeah, we need a sense of urgency now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I'm trying to engender. And I'm trying to get people to feel that sense of urgency, because I see, the planet is literally on fire. Okay, just like a house is on fire. If your house is on fire, you don't sit around saying, well, how do I make coffee now? When's my breakfast? No, you get up and we put out the fire first.
Yeah, sure.
Same thing with the planet. Okay, so the planet is on fire. Literally, the life support systems are at breaking point.
Yeah.
And several of them, there are 7 planetary boundary transgressions, which means, and every transgression, if you leave it there, is sufficient to kill life as we know it. So why would you leave it there?
Yeah.
And 2 of them, we are assessing that they are probably already at a point of no return. We don't know. And the only way we will know is to try and pull them back and see if they're responding in the right direction.
Which 2 are those?
One is species extinction.
Yeah.
So we have
habitat loss as well.
Habitat loss.
Biodiversity.
Yeah, it's basically we are converting the entire planet into monocultures.
Right.
And so the biodiversity is dying off.
Yeah.
And the monocultures are unstable. Okay, so they never. So literally, it'll become all deserts over time if you leave it there. This is why we need to bring back the biodiversity. Right?
Yeah.
And that we don't know if we have enough to bring back, because we've created a lot of holes in the ecosystems. There are no more of those species left.
Yeah.
And they were doing vital functions in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the ecosystem will be stable, if you try to bring them back now. So that's one. And the second is the chemical pollution of the planet. So through our industrial processes, we are pouring something like 220 billion tons of toxic waste into the environment every year. Okay. 220 billion tons is the equivalent of about 30 elephants worth of chemicals per person per year. And every year you add another 220 billion tons. So the earth is marinating in this. And every year it's getting harder and harder for her to process this. And how does the earth process all this chemical pollution? It's through trees. So trees are so amazing because they take water that's full of chemical pollution and they filter the chemical pollution out and they store it in their trunks and their branches. And they try to send pure water through their leaves. So this is how the purification happens. But the trees are now, they're saturated. They cannot store anymore. And we still cut another 100 million acres of trees every year. So it's still deforesting for eating more animal products. And that makes the remaining trees even harder for them to do this work. And so urgently, we need to bring back the 3 trillion trees that we cut so that they can suck up this chemical pollution and see if photosynthesis will still work, right? So at some point, the system is set up in a way that at some point, the trees are going to say, I'm not doing anymore. I'm done. And I don't know when that is. Because we know that when systems fail, they can cause catastrophic failure. Like we have 12 systems in our body. Okay, we have a circulatory system, an immune system, a digestive system, and so on. If one system, say the circulatory system fails, all the systems will fail.
Yeah.
Okay, because you don't get oxygen to your cells and you die.
Yeah.
So that's death. Death is catastrophic system failure. Now, we have studied millions of human beings, and we understand how sometimes death happens catastrophically, quickly. Sometimes it takes a prolonged time. So we have studied them all, right? We only studied one planet. Are we so sure that the planet only dies slowly? Wake up, folks. System failure can be catastrophic and can happen suddenly. This is why I say, please take it seriously. So I'm appealing to everyone, take it seriously when scientists are telling you that 2 of the planetary boundaries are at high risk of destabilizing the life support systems of the planet. There is only one planet that we know of that supports life. And so we have to preserve her life support systems as if our life depends on it, because it does. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the sense of urgency I want to bring to people.
Yeah. And in terms of like the people that you've spoken to who are creating these policies, have you had any, can you recall any, like what's been successful, or, has there been some countries that you've been to or people that you've met who've actually are with you on this?
Yeah, there are some people who are like, I'm going to Bangladesh, in July, because there was an NGO who listened to my talk in Brazil at UN COP30, and through that he's invited me to come there and talk to officials and colleges and so on.
Yeah.
Ultimately, 195 nations have signed on to the UN Sustainable Development Goals.
Yeah.
Okay. That means that they have signed on to eliminate poverty by 2030, zero hunger by 2030, good health and well-being by 2030, quality education by 2030. So all great goals, okay?
Yeah.
They've all agreed to sign it off.
Not one that includes no animal agriculture as a goal.
Exactly. So what I'm saying, what I'm pointing out is that they have signed on to meet these goals, but those goals include goal number 8, which is economic growth. Which should not be there. It's a goal that is in opposition to the other goals. Okay, so we have a goal validity test, and we passed all the goals through that test, and economic growth fails the goal validity test. So it's incoherent with the other goals.
Yeah.
So I'm suggesting you have to drop that. If you're serious about meeting these goals, drop economic growth as a goal and replace it with zero animal exploitation as a goal.
Yeah.
And that makes all the goals easier to meet.
Right.
Okay. So as soon as you put that in, everything becomes coherent and you can meet these goals. And then ask engineers like me to come and help you meet it. Okay. We can meet it. This is not so complicated to meet. Yeah. Because we have all the resources we need to solve our problems today.
Yeah.
We have an abundance of food. We have abundance of everything. Okay. We are artificially creating scarcities by feeding the food to animals and then taking it out of their bodies. Okay.
Exactly.
You lose like 39 to 1. So for every 39 pounds of food you give to the animal, you get 1 pound of food out of the animal.
Yeah, the maths just crazy. The ratio.
It is. It is just, I mean, even that ratio, they kind of massage it. They say 16 pounds of grain to 1 pound of food. Well, the animal doesn't just eat grain. It eats all kinds of things. So I look at the total amount of food the animal eats versus how much of food the animal gives us.
Yeah,
it's
including the water that they drink.
No, it's just dry
food,
dry weight.
food.
Dry weight is what I'm looking at.
Right.
So this is from the IPCC's own data. It's saying that the animals are eating 39 pounds of food to give you 1 pound of food. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just interpreting their data for you.
Yeah. And when it comes to, I guess, modern society, especially when you're looking at people who are driven by their stomachs and in terms of the taste and texture that they say they get from meat, and it's that emotional connection and quite cultural for some people.
Right.
And especially when you have the advertising world who are reinforcing that message, because they're spending so much on marketing to deliver that same message, even to young people.
Right.
Even at a simple level, the way we describe food would be things like chicken nuggets, when in fact you don't have to call it chicken nuggets. It can be called a tofu nugget or a jackfruit nugget, and it tastes great. So it's that association of the words, like you were saying about protein coming from meat, the analogy there. what can we do when these organizations, companies who are selling meat products and byproducts
Right.
are so powerful? They have the spend and the influence they have
Yeah.
within society.
Yeah. I mean, they need to understand that all their power disappears on a dead planet.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a living planet is essential for everybody, including corporations. So this is why we have to take this very, very seriously, as all of us are in this together. Okay. Now, Amsterdam, for instance, has banned meat advertising.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Because
that
they
was this year,
recognize-
which was amazing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, which is an acknowledgement that this is a destructive industry that's really causing a lot of problems. Now, it turns out that it's the entire system that needs to be overhauled. It's not just meat industry. It's just part of something that's much larger, right? And so this is why, I design systems. I'm designing a Planet B system. So that's based on plant-based foods. That's based on sufficiency over growth. So we have different set of axioms on which we build the systems, as opposed to the unconscious myths that are underlying the current system.
Yeah.
See, the current system, no one designed it in that sense, in the sense that we inherited a lot of these systems and we just tweaked it, to our advantage. So whoever is able to tweak it to their advantage was able to do that. They did that. And so now it's a hodgepodge of systems that are kind of working together, but it's not serving anybody very well at the moment. And you can see a lot of governments are beginning to recognize this. So they are making some changes.
Yeah.
And then you see the opposition, you see the reaction to that.
Yeah.
Where absurd dietary guidelines come out.
Yeah.
Which is utterly absurd.
Yeah.
And why are we going backwards like that? But that's the reaction to the realization that that way of life is disappearing. That way of life is no longer sustainable. Our current way of life. So it is creating a new system of systems. All the systems. Education system has to change. Health system has to change. Food distribution, food production systems have to change. Basically, it all has to be based on truth and honesty and humility.
Yeah.
We are just one species among millions, and they are all fellow travelers on spaceship Earth. So we need to figure out a way to bring them back, bring all the other species back. So I say we are going to be engaged in a massive effort to restore the planet, to restore the life support systems of the planet.
Yeah.
Okay. And only then will we reach a stable point where we can all thrive forever.
Yeah.
Because that's sustainability. Sustainability means you can live like that forever. And the Sustainable Development Goals have to be aligned towards that. It's the infinite game that we have to play, that we can live like that forever.
Yeah. You mentioned about Bangladesh and in general, Asians, especially coming from like India, a lot of them are vegetarian. You want to also promote ahimsa, meaning non-violence. I still feel that Indian vegetarians don't really understand the connection, or they try and, overlook it when you try and describe the impacts they're having also with dairy.
Yeah.
How do you go about describing that to people to make them understand?
Everyone justifies the way they're living right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I justify the way I'm living now. Everyone does that. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. It's just that we have to justify based on reality, and we have to acknowledge when reality is saying the contrary to what you think is happening. And ultimately, everyone loves healthy, tasty food.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So our job is to make sure that they have access to healthy, tasty food.
Right.
That is in compliance with how well with the planet, that allows the planet to thrive as well. So this is why I rather focus on having, gourmet plant foods being made available to everyone.
So people know they taste great.
Yeah.
And,
not only taste great, they're amazing.
Yeah.
I've had food that Marlene Watsantara,
Yeah.
so she's a chef who's realized that, all of these cuisines were based on locally available ingredients. She said, now we have all of these other ingredients all together. So what can I do with this?
Yeah.
So it's like, completely different things she's coming up with.
Yeah.
Right? And this amazing food that she's able to give. I've seen, at the Oxford Literary Festival,
Yeah.
she serves it for the closing dinner.
Okay.
And people stood up and clapped.
Amazing.
And, there was cardinals standing up and whistling through their mouths. It was that good.
Yeah.
And it was basically whole food, plant-based,
Yeah.
healthy food.
Yeah.
Healthy food can be delicious.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we need to understand. Okay? You don't have to be stuck thinking that you won't get the same taste.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll get better taste.
Yeah. I'm sure there's people who are meat eaters who've had like bad meat because it's not been seasoned. A lot of it does come to seasoning and how you cook the food. And some people might give up on stuff too early, So even when you make tofu, for example, you have to season that well. You have to cook it in the right way, add all the spices. But it's an easy thing to do. It's an easy swap to make.
Right.
I will be going into schools to talk for animal aid, into primary schools to show them and do cooking demonstrations of how to do a soya mince instead of a beef mince, for example.
Right.
So I think that education is really key, and it does come from going back to people's emotions and their stomach. They also want to make sure it tastes good and it hits their sensory glands as well.
No, to me, this is a transformation that needs to happen. And it's a transformation towards more joy, more happiness, more well-being. Why? Because you realize you belong on earth, number one.
Yeah.
You belong on earth, you have a job to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have the power to change the life support systems of a planet, you own it. As a species, we own it, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to stabilize it and maintain it. And that's the infinite game we have to play on behalf of all life on the planet.
Yeah.
So now the Earth will never go back to glaciation again. So we have already ended the fifth major ice age in the Earth's history, the Quaternary Ice Age, which has been going on for the last 3 million years. So we've ended it.
Yeah.
The Earth will never go back to glaciation again as long as we're around, because we won't let it. Why would we let a mile of ice sit on top of London?
Yeah.
Right? We won't do that.
Yeah.
So that's what it was 50,000 years ago. So now we have ended that glaciation. So we can congratulate ourselves for having done that. But now that you know your power, use it wisely.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Showing that there is a way to do that.
Yeah.
And it's easy. It's not that hard. It's not like you have to go move mountains, individually.
Yeah.
Each of us eat delicious food.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah.
Okay. And that becomes the new norm. That becomes the new culture.
Yeah.
That becomes what everyone else is doing around you. So you will be left out if you don't do it.
Yeah.
So I tell people, look, everyone around the world is going vegan. It's not just in a few places. Why? Because nature wants it to happen. Ultimately, nature is the boss. Okay? I say that we are all, whether we like it or not, nature has been using us. and she's tick, opening us up now. And we are going to go vegan. All of us are going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay?
And you had this timeline before of
Yes.
a promise that you made to your granddaughter.
Yeah.
What are you saying now in terms of timeline? Obviously it's a big task.
Right.
And, there's so much work that needs to be done on it. But do you have a new revised timeline that you, or
I
you're
don't have
still,
a revised- No.
what happened this year? 2026,
I'm
or it should have
saying-
happened year before.
I know. It has to. See, the sooner we do it, the better off we are.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, even if I wave a magic wand today and make everybody go vegan and all the animals disappear, all the farmed animals disappear overnight, I don't know if all the life support systems will come back right away. We may have to work on making them come back, on repairing them.
Yeah.
As it is.
Well, we've got to plant more trees as soon as
You have to
as part
plant
of
more
that.
forests. We have to plant
More
the
forests,
original
that's right.
ecosystems. We have to bring back the foxes. We have to bring back the predators.
Yeah.
We have to restore the ecosystems that used to be there. Why? Because that was a stable point in the system. So systems have stable points. So we know that if the system lasted for 10,000 years, that was a stable point. And so if you try to bring it back, then you can stay there forever. But if you think there is another stable point 3 degrees Celsius higher in temperature, you may not find it. And it may just keep getting hotter and hotter and hotter and kill us all off. So you don't know, you know.
In a way, we're also the worst apex predators, aren't we?
Well,
Ourselves, humans.
well, we pretend to be apex predators. We are not.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
apex predators only because we have
Control.
technology
Technology and control
that
over other species.
overcomes other
Yeah,
species.
yeah, yeah.
But in reality, if you look at our biology, we are herbivores.
Yeah, yeah.
We are pretending to be carnivores. We are
Yeah.
only herbivores.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even the terminology hunter-gatherers, we were never hunter-gatherers. We were always gatherers first.
Yes.
Right?
Why
We
would
were
you go
always-
hunt when there is so much fruits
yeah,
around
exactly.
you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I say that we are born with compassion in our hearts,
Mm.
and we have always been that way.
And you see it in young children, right? You show them animals, and then you make that connection with them, and they don't want those animals to be
Right.
killed for sure.
Sure.
And
for
we
sure.
sort of unlearn it, don't we?
Right.
As we get older, or
We get educated out of it.
get educated out of it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We are told all these nursery rhymes that are violent.
That's right.
Told all these violent stories, and soon we get educated out of it.
Mm.
But we are born compassionate.
Yeah.
So it's about returning home to who we really are.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what this movement is.
Yeah. And you've been involved in terms of some films like Cowspiracy, you've been involved in that. Are you working on any other ideas or helping to promote that message forward as well?
Yeah, we did a lot of documentaries initially. So
Yeah.
I was involved in about over a dozen documentaries.
Yeah.
But those documentaries reach a lot of intellectuals.
Yeah.
They
And
don't
How
really-
Not to Die was a recent one. You
I'm not involved in that,
one?
but that's a
With
great documentary.
Yeah, it's a great
Please
documentary.
watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Dr.
very-
Michael Greger's
Yeah,
documentary.
it's very well done. I
Yeah.
watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
And so documentaries reach people who are thinkers,
Yeah.
but the common people, I mean, people who are busy doing their work, right?
Yeah.
They have no time for all this.
No.
And usually they watch through, entertainment, through, that's how you need to educate them.
That's right.
So I'm working on some Bollywood movies now,
Yeah.
To reach that.
Yeah. And a lot of the documentaries are quite serious, and some people don't want that, or it doesn't really work for them. And there was one that I watched which was called Food for Thought. It's available on YouTube. And that one was a great documentary because it didn't go into the details of animal or show explicit hard images around animal slaughter, which some people will find it more acceptable, and it mainly talks about food. So, but I think there should be multiple types of films, right? Like you say. So comedy is great. Like everyone needs to have a breakaway from their day to day. And if we can have that message within it, so yeah, that would be very cool.
Yes. So but there's also the sense of urgency, right? So I'm appealing to governments and all to wake up and, because they have a role to play.
Yeah.
It's not just about, washing their hands off. And we are watching now. The Sustainable Development Goals, they said they were going to meet by 2030. I'm going to hold their feet to the fire. How are you meeting it? What is your plan? I mean, I've never seen a project succeed without a plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what is your plan?
Yeah.
Is this a deception game, or are we serious people? Okay. Let's all become serious people, because we have a serious problem to address. And I'm happy to help anyone. I'm happy to help any government meet the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, with the exception of goal number 8 and with the addition of goal number 18, which is zero animal exploitation. I'm available. I'll work for free for your country if you want to do it. So please take me up on that.
Yeah.
So that's one, right? And it's really about adults becoming serious about solving problems. It's not about deceiving people. And then 2030 comes, you just change it to 2040 or 2050.
Yeah, pushing back the time.
Come on.
Yeah.
How long are we going to keep doing this when you're facing a serious issue?
Yeah. And every year you're running your own conference, the VCOP. Do you want to tell everyone about that?
Yeah,
conference?
we run...
which is great, by the way. I've been coming to that last few years.
Right. So we do this thing called Vegan Convergence of the Peoples, and we do it quarterly. And it puts veganism on the table. Whereas the UN conferences of the parties, everybody is serving meat and dairy and fish and eggs, and it's not serious when you do that. You're not being serious about solving the problem. Okay. Even biodiversity conferences, they're serving meat.
Yeah, super frustrating.
Yeah, it is not
Yeah.
only frustrating. It's just, are we serious people? I
Yeah.
don't attend conferences when people are not serious.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is why I stopped attending the UN COPs
Mm.
until I went to Brazil, and I was invited by the Supreme Master people, the Loving Heart people,
Mm.
to come and give talks outside the COP in the
Mm.
green zone.
Mm.
So I went, and I realized I should have attended the COPs because there are a lot of serious people coming to those conferences.
Yeah. And they're the people to influence as well, right?
Yeah, they're the people
Yeah.
that we need to influence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of openness to the message, to my message at this COP.
Mm.
So I'm convinced I have to go to Turkey for
Yeah.
the next one and
Yeah.
have a booth for Planet B,
Okay,
where we
great.
talk about the solution.
Yeah.
Because right now there are lots of booths about the problem. There are hardly any booths about how do you really solve the problem.
Mm. Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you're doing that, and you're doing your quarterly conferences. Anyone can come to that and sign up and
Absolutely,
and join that. So hopefully then in Turkey, that's next month.
That's
you
in
say?
November.
November, sorry.
November,
Okay.
yeah.
And what else have you got planned for the rest of this year?
Full bore,
Yeah.
trying to get people to understand the urgency of what's happening around the planet,
Yeah.
and that there is a way out, that there is a solution that we can work on together.
Mm.
And so I'm presenting a book at the Oxford Literary Festival
Okay.
next month
Okay, great.
called A Guide to Planet B.
Yeah. Are you doing another talk like you did? Was it last year you did your talk there as well?
Yeah, I
Where there was
presented the book,
Yeah.
There is a Planet B.
Right.
So There is a Planet B is a book about what we need to do and
Yeah.
why we have to do it.
Yeah.
And this is a book about how to do it.
Oh, okay, right.
A guide to Planet B.
Okay,
so it's
nice.
sort of step by step for every person. How do you install Planet B protocols in your life,
Yeah.
and how do you basically we all have Planet B protocols and Planet A protocols in our lives. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Planet A protocols are dominant right now, so we need to make Planet B protocols more dominant, and eventually Planet A will just come into disuse.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's not going to die. It's just going to disuse. Right?
Yeah, I
we
mean,
don't use it anymore.
That's what we want to happen.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
So we now know, people are the same everywhere in the world. So all this business about I'm superior to you, you're superior to me, all that is nonsense. We know that. Whether it is between human beings or between human beings and other animals, it's the same issue. The idea that some lives matter less is the root of all that's wrong with the world.
True.
Said Paul Farmer.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so this is just a validation of that. My systems engineering work is just showing that he was right all along.
Yeah.
And so how do you create a system in which you embody this knowledge that you have, right? And create a system that can last forever. So it has to have feedback loops in it. It has to have, ways to correct things if you discover that something is not right. So all that I put into this design. So I'm just designing a system, just like I did for the internet, designing a system for human civilization.
Yeah. Well, wish you the best of luck with that launch next month and for Turkey in November as well. And carry on talking about this and the urgency behind it. But thank you so much for all the work that you're doing.
My pleasure. Yeah. It's my duty.
Yeah. Great. And thanks for coming on the show, and hopefully see you again soon.
Thanks for having me.